Hey guys, it's your boy here, Marvin Ambrosius, and this is episode 2 of Marv and Basketball. And we're going to be talking today about one of my favorite things in the world, movies and basketball, combining the two together. Let's go.
You move just like the superstar you are. You weave your magic feeling from afar. You're like the dancer all alone on the stage. Moses, Moses, you're the one. Moses, you're the one.
Yes, now we're going to be talking about hustle with my guy, Adam Sandler. Now, what can I say about my boy Adam? He's just on another level. And this time, just coming from Uncut Gems, coming into this, he's really showing us his range in acting. Like, he's pushing the boundaries. But at the same time, he's gone into the realm of something that he absolutely loves. If you've been following him as long as I have, you'll know this man loves him some basketball. Not only that, he is a baller in himself. I've got some footage in the background just to show you this guy can play. Now, overall was the movie. What can I say? The movie was fantastic. Like, I loved the plot. I loved the actual storyline. I loved that it showed how a scout actually works in terms of the NBA. Obviously, knowing my background of basketball, I knew how that worked. But to show other people what scouts' jobs are, Adam Sandler, you start the movie with him going to various different countries around the world, staying in hotels, trying to find the next best thing. And obviously, there's different channels and avenues you go through to getting in the NBA. One going through college, can't come from high school anymore. That ship has sailed. Kobe did that, one of the last to do it. But yeah, you go from college, and then you can go from EuroLeague and FIBA. So they get recruited, and you have to be, which is crazy, under a certain age to enter into the draft. So they show all of that information in there, which was great, within the space of, I think, 5 minutes. And then it just goes on to showing the storyline of him trying to find the player, which was Honcho, which he then found. And it just shows that journey of how you get into the combine. And the combine is something that you should always watch, because you get to see who is going to be the next best thing and who the media is going to cover the most. Because that's another thing. Once the media decide who they're going to cover, that's pretty much the narrative throughout the whole year. Hancho Ana Gomez and Anthony Edwards did such an amazing job. Like, who would have known that this guy could act the way he did? I was convinced that he was an actor at one point. And Anthony Edwards as a villain, wow. What an amazing job. But again, Adam Sandler, the GOAT as far as I'm concerned of comedy. I've been following since before SNL. And if you don't know about things like Billy Madison and those type of programs, you got to get into it. You just got to go and do the full movieography of this guy, because he is one of the best. And if you've never seen Uncut Gems as well, it's not a direct basketball related film, but you'll see what I mean if you do watch that. Kevin Garnett kills that movie as well. But this particular film as well with Queen Latifah, one great thing about her being in the movie playing his wife, this is just a little bit of information from her for you, just to give you a little bit of insight knowledge about her. She used to actually play in all the All-Star games. There was something called Rock and Jock Basketball for MTV back in the day, and she can ball. Like, I'm talking really ball. But I just had to put that out there first. I digress. I do apologize. But overall, as a movie and a complete movie, I absolutely loved it. It's definitely in my top, I wouldn't say probably top 10. It could be in my top 10, but I'm going to go over the list of my top 10 afterwards, which I'm not going to lie, I had to whittle it down, but I found it really difficult. But we're going to do it in a minute, and I'm going to show you what movies you may have missed out on in the past and the movies that you can watch currently as well. Now, in regards to the past movies that I wanted to go over, I'm not going to lie, I had to write these ones down. I can memorize stuff, but not that well. There are a lot of basketball movies that I watched as a kid, so much so that I forgot how great some of them were. I'm going to name a few, show them in the background as well. I'm going to change the background screen so you can see a lot of the posters of the films, because I want you to actually see these movies too. If you love basketball, some of these in particular you will love. I actually use a lot of phrasing, a lot of key sentences and words with friends to this day from these particular movies. I can go up to a friend and say a one-liner and they'll know exactly what movie it's from. But to go through the list now, there's one particular that I used to love as a kid. There's one called Hoosiers. Now, in the UK, it was called Best Shot with Gene Hackman and Barbara Hershey. The tagline was Best Shot. Winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. I'll never forget that. It was on a commercial that I saw before another movie when I was a kid. And I used to go crazy. Like, I can't wait to watch that movie. And it was a fantastic film. It's a true story based on a high school team's rise to the top. And it was just a fantastic movie. Now, the next one I've got is one of the best. Sunset Park. Classic movie. Now, if you like Fred Rostar, he was obviously from Onyx, like you'd see him in that. Really good movie. The basketball's not that great in it, but at the same time it comes part of a rising era of basketball films that's pretty good. It was cool. It's not in my top 10 though, but I had to mention it. That's like an honorable mention. Heaven is a Playground. Now, that stars Bo Kimble. Bo Kimble actually used to play with a player called Hank Gathers that unfortunately passed away in college on the court. He had basically a heart attack, and literally it was awful. There's actually a shorter movie, a biopic about his life. I used to cry watching that movie all the time. I'm not gonna lie, it was just crazy, but that was a decent film. We've also got as well, I'm gonna just go through the list. You've got Coach Carter, He Got Game, Love and Basketball, Glory Road. If you haven't seen that one, you've got to see that movie. Great true story about a team with the first ever black starting five to win an NCAA championship. Facts. Fact check it. Above the Rim, Space Jam, White Men Can't Jump. We mentioned Blue Chips, Hoop Dreams, one of the best documentaries you'll ever see. Arthur McGee. That was my guy. He reminded me of so many people I grew up with. And I think it's a great testament to show you just how difficult it is to make it on any level in basketball, because it's a 1 in a billion chance to go to the NBA. People forget that number sometimes. So if you know someone who knows someone that goes to the NBA, we're pretty privileged to be in that position, because it's very difficult to get to a league that only has 30 teams in them. Think of it like that. Also as well, you got Like Mike, Bow Wow film. It was fun. I'm not a big massive fan of it, but it was good at the time. Rebound, amazing film. It was again a biopic about a legendary basketball player called Earl the Goat Manigault. He was one of the players known to he could jump and put a penny on the top of the backboard, and then he could jump and get the penny from the top of the backboard. I'm being absolutely serious when I say this. It was, what was his name? Don Chaney. Was it Don Cheadle? No, sorry, Don Cheadle was the person who played him as a basketball player. Don Cheadle didn't have much game in it, I'm going to be honest. His game wasn't great, but the way it was edited was good enough for me to know that this was fantastic. But the movie is more about how he got hooked onto drugs and how the crack epidemic played a part in his demise and him not becoming the player that he wanted to be. So it's actually quite a sad movie in that sense, but it's honorable mention for that one. You've got Eddie with Whoopi Goldberg, which is great. The air up there, you look at it now, it didn't age very well, that film, if I'm honest. You'll know what I mean if you see it. And Celtic Pride, Shaka Khan. You got to see it. Like, honestly, Dan Aykroyd, that was when the Celtics were playing against Golden State, one of the funniest things that I thought was when Steph Curry was killing it, I could see Dan Aykroyd going, Shaka Khan. Like, I could see him the whole time doing it. So it just cracked me up every single time I saw it. You've also got as well Semi-Pro. Semi-Pro. Love Me Sexy. Like, if a movie opens with that kind of song, you kind of know where the movie's going at that point. And that's to pay homage to the fact when the ABA merged with the NBA, they're showing all the kind of things that they used to do to advertise for games, to where to attract the audience to go to it. It wasn't just about the basketball game, it was about the entertainment. And that was how the NBA founded, to where they became more of an entertainment league, not just sports. So you had to have the dancers, you had to have the Laker girls. All these things came from how the ABA was ran, because they wanted people to have more than just a basketball game to watch. So that's a great movie. Will Ferrell, again, one of my goats of acting, one of my goats in terms of comedy as well. Absolutely amazing. And honorable mention as well to Andre 3000 and Woody Harrelson, who killed that film. Woody Harrelson also killed it in White Men Can't Jump. Now, fun fact about that movie, Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson were in a basketball camp for around 3 months prior to filming, and they were killing it. Like, we're talking, there was old footage, I couldn't find it anywhere, of when they were training and they were playing pickup games with some of the best players. They were playing with like Division 1 league players, they were playing with ABA players, they were playing with everybody. But then what was great about that movie, if you watch it properly, when they're on the beach scene, when they're having a shooting competition, most of that is all in one shot. So there's hardly any cutaways. They were really shooting. They were really having banter back and forth. And that is why that movie is so great, because you're really feeling the energy of what it's like to be in a street ball in Venice Beach and what it would be like to be talking trash. So definitely check that one out. He Got Game. Oh, Jesus Shuttlesworth. What can we say? Another movie that we just quote all day long. Spike Lee, one of the best directors in the game. I want him to make more movies like this, because it's probably one of the best stories that you'll see of a kid from high school going into college and then ultimately trying to get to the NBA. But great thing about that movie, it was actually loosely based on Stephen Marbury, Stephen Marbury. Remember that name? Like, he was somebody who came from Staten Island, worked his way up, and then you could see what was going on next. Arguably, Above the Rim could be the best basketball movie ever made. And it's not because of the basketball. This is what's crazy. It's just the one-liners that are in that movie. There's, like, even now, I don't think there's a week that goes by where I won't have a quote from that movie. I'm being serious. Like, he's playing ball without a ball. I use that all the time. And like Tupac, he's got great one-liners in there. As well as that as well, Marlon Wayans, too funny. Absolutely too funny. He's just perfect for the movie. And on top of it as well, there's just so many legends in that movie. And like, with the way basketball was played, the way Martin actually was somebody who went to college, went to a high level of college ball, wanted to make the NBA, didn't make it, was an actor at the same time, and was in one of my favorite shows growing up called Out All Night. If you don't know about that show, check it out. It was with Vivica Fox. And he was one of my idols growing up. So when he made Above the Rim, I was really, really into it, because he was somebody that I wanted to follow. He's someone I looked up to. So that's an amazing movie. So check out Above the Rim. We got some more here. So Love and Basketball. Most guys that I knew when we were growing up didn't really go out with basketball players. You didn't really have people in relationships. There was the odd few. But this movie here, it could bring you together. It made you want a relationship with someone in basketball at the same time, because you wanted to play one-on-one, you wanted to beat them, you wanted to be competitive. But this movie, the way they put it together with the era, the music, the timeline, the storyline behind their love, how they broke up, the last basketball game they played to Michelle and Cello's song. Oh my God, like, it was just too much. It was just crazy. And the biggest line in that movie to me is what her mother says to her when she goes, "It's just a game." It was like, what? This isn't just a game. This is life. Basketball is life. What's she talking about? She's crazy. One of my all-time classics of true stories, The Pistol. Now, Pistol Pete Maravich, if you don't know who that is, there'd be no Magic Johnson without this guy. This was one of the most flashy players you'd ever seen. The handles this guy had, he was breaking people down before we knew what breaking ankles was. So you make sure you check out that movie. It's very hard to find though. Check it out, go on Amazon, do whatever you need to do, try and find that movie, because it's a great movie. Now, we mentioned Marlon Wayans earlier, but with him, Kadeem Hardison, they did a movie called The Sixth Man. The storyline's a bit bizarre, it's a bit wacky, but it was about two brothers that got into play for the Huskies together in college. And unfortunately, one of the players, Kadeem Hardison, dies on the basketball court. Very sad, again, kind of loosely based in a sense of what I mentioned earlier on about Hank Gathers. But it's so sad, like, to the point where I was in tears, because it emotionally gets you there, but then it turns into a completely different type of movie where his brother helps him out and helps him become a better player, but also helps the team get to the NCAA final. But Marlon Wayans becomes a better player and wants to do it without his brother. The last play, not to spoil it, spoiler alert, the last play of the game, his brother's going to help lead the ball into the basketball rim, and he says, "Let it go," and he lets it go, and they win. But you have to watch the whole movie unfold. It's emotional movie. If you have got siblings or family who have passed or anything in that sense, it does hit you. It hits you differently. And Marlon Wayans, to me, he sold it. He sold it really well. Both of them great actors, great movie. What have we got else? I'm not going to mention too much about Juwanna Man, even though it had a great song that came from it, which was What's Love Got to Do with Ashanti and Fat Joe. So that song actually came from that movie. I'm pretty sure it did. So it was. Yeah, that's all I can say about Juwanna Man. I'm not really going to go into that movie too tough because it didn't really do that much for me. Basketball Diaries, Leonardo DiCaprio, Mark Wahlberg. Bet you never saw that movie. I know. Crazy, right? Again, it's loosely based on basketball. Again, like Rebound with Elder Goat Manigoat, it's about fallen kids that go to the streets that end up taking drugs, and ultimately the drug wins over everything else. Leonardo DiCaprio had everything going for him as a basketball player and a basketball talent. He's actually brilliant in this movie. To me, this was the movie where I discovered him and went, this guy's going places. Need I say more? I was just a kid watching this guy, and it's a really good movie. I really like it. It's very gritty, it's very raw, so when you're watching it, you can pretty much smell the crack. It's that type of film. You can smell the crack literally when you're watching it. It's pretty crazy, but it's a great film. Mark Wahlberg, I believe it wasn't his debut movie, but it was in the top 2 of his debuts, I know that. So he was pretty good in it as well, and obviously he loves playing ball too. But yeah, fantastic film. Last but not least, I'm going to mention a brand new film that came out in a minute, just to say, like, I just watched it yesterday. But the movie I'm going to talk about now is the GOAT of all basketball films, which is The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. Now, I know there's someone watching this right now going, I've never even heard of this movie before. But guess what? You've heard of it now. And because you've heard of it now, you're going to get to watch this movie and discover it for the first time. And I'm jealous that you are getting this feeling and this discovery for the first time. It is like discovering eating a Twinkie for the first time. It is like discovering eating a Five Guys burger for the first time. You see where I'm going with the food references. I apologize. But yeah, at the same time, this is one of those movies where it's a game changer. Dr. J is the star of this movie. Like Mona. Like, I'm just going to say Mona. Now, Moses McGuffrey is his name in the film. Listen to his name, Moses McGuffrey. Like Moses. Like, there's a song that I actually play, and I'm gonna play it on the next episode, just so people can understand how deep this movie is. The soundtrack, everything, the feeling, the basketball, like, is unbelievable. You're seeing NBA stars and ABA stars alike in this film. The budget is absolutely crazy. But just to give you a little bit of background of why it's called The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. The team was originally called the Pittsburgh Pythons. But what happened was they got new management, new owner. The owner was very, very wacky. So the owner decided to say, we're going to get an astrologer on board, and we're going to find a team that consists of only Pisces star sign. Like, you think it sounds crazy, but when you look at it, it was about the chemistry. So they're building a team based on, are they going to have great chemistry? So they have all of these crazy characters join this team, and ultimately, you know what happens next. Like, it doesn't take, and it's built around Dr. J. So he's the one who's the Pisces, because they're only going based on him. But the team that he gets and the one-liners, trade me. Like, honestly, like, it's crazy. And every single time I get fouled in a basketball game, I say this: fouls, free throws. Every single time. Like, I can't get this movie out of my head. And the music that plays during the film, sometimes when I was younger and I was playing basketball, that music would be going through my head and I would be trying to play the way Dr. J played in the film. But yeah, what can I say about that movie? Absolutely unbelievable. Make sure you go see it. Now, just as an honorable mention to a new movie that's just come out, and it's based on the life story of Giannis Antetokounmpo and his brothers and his family. Now, I knew the story about the Greek Freak and his family, but one thing I will say is there's nothing better than actually getting a visual content on what happened and context. It's definitely the PG version of what happened. I must admit, I'm happy that Disney included some aspects of the racism that they faced, the prejudice they faced, and how their immigration status was completely different to what it should have been, and how they weren't actually legal for a long time. he comes and his family comes from very, very humble beginnings. Like where he is right now, if you were going to give them a vision board of what they would be doing, no one could believe where he is and who he is as a champion, and his family. All three of his brothers, all of them, obviously he's got a fourth as well, but all three of them have championship rings. And they're from Greece, originally from Nigeria. Like, it's absolutely crazy. But you need to watch the movie. It's on Disney Plus now. Make sure you check it out. But it's fantastic. Now, guys, honestly, there's so many movies to go through. I could have a top 10, but to be honest, I don't have a top 10. It's how I'm feeling on the day. So even though I said earlier on, I'm going to say my top 10, I've realized now, as a disclaimer, I don't really have a top 10. But I do have probably a top 3. But even then, I just said it in my head and it changed. But Above the Rim probably is the movie I'm going to go to first. Yeah, no, see, I've just changed it again. It will be The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. But again, it's all about feeling. It's emotion. It's where we are. Do you know what? Help me out. You tell me what movie you think is the best out of all of them in the comments, because I need to know. Guys, as you can see, I've gone through most of the films now. I obviously didn't mention all the things like Space Jam 2. There's so many other films. Coach Carter, I didn't go into depth about these films, but as you can hear, I could probably do a video about every single movie individually and talk about them. I really could, because I've seen all of them. And I love them all. And some of them I've probably seen more than 10 times. You're thinking you should have just read a book, which I probably should have done at the time. But you know what? I love movies, like I said. And that concludes our episode 2 of Marvin Basketball. Love you guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, do all of that good stuff. And I will see you for episode 3 in 2 weeks. Peace.